Welcome everybody to the Dice Tower chat. This is a chat where we're coming here for the Dice Tower and being super positive and being here to take a whole bunch of questions from everybody. I'm your host, Roy Canaday, and with me today is Travis Oates. What's going on, Travis?
Hi, chat. How's everybody?
So if everybody doesn't know, Travis has a show on board games called Above Board, and he's also done a bunch of different voice acting, like the voice of Piglet as well. Tell everybody more about what you've done, Travis.
As you said, I'm Travis Oates. I voice a variety of characters for Disney and Nickelodeon and others. I used to be a Magic the Gathering national champion. I was one of the original hosts on G4. I hosted a show called Arena with Will Wheaton. Was one of the original casters. And I do have this little show called Above Board, where I'm... we're doing a little talk about the board games there.
I've actually seen the first episode of Above Board, and I was super excited. I can't wait to see more of the show and what you guys have going on.
Yeah, me too. We shot 6 episodes, and they look pretty good. I'm excited for other people to see them. Finally, someday, be nice.
I think it's fun because it's like a very interesting approach on like board gaming and like the whole like tabletop thing, because you guys take kind of like, it's about board games, but also it's very like comedic, so that like almost anybody can watch it.
Yeah, we like to. It's a lifestyle show, so we don't do a lot of reviews, and we don't do like unboxings. We don't do anything that you would see on the internet. Primarily because folks like you guys are already doing it, and you're already doing it really, really well. So we don't want to compete with that. I don't think we could. We're not smart enough. So instead, we're just kind of goofballs doing our thing. It's an interesting process. If you've seen, for you guys out there who haven't seen any of the show, it's a little bit like Top Gear. But instead of cars, it's about board games, CCGs, and tabletop role-playing games, in a nutshell.
Gotcha. And you have all sorts of like amazing guests on the show, and it's extremely high production value.
Yep. We have celebrities, and we have developers and designers who come onto the show. The show is about 50% in front of a live studio audience in our set in the studio, and then we go all over the world, literally all over the United States. We went to Britain and to Germany, filming all kinds of segments and bits.
Awesome. Well, everybody in the chat, make sure to leave us some questions that we can have Travis answer. If you have any questions about his voice acting work or any of his previous experience in media out there in LA, just let us know. Or if you want to ask him more questions about Above Board, that would be awesome too.
Or if you just want to ask me my habits with clothes.
Yeah.
Talk about dog grooming.
Everybody in chat just keeps saying, any day now. Any day now.
Any day now. I know. Yeah. Believe me.
So here's the thing.
Sure.
So Michael said the teaser on the cruise was awesome. So for people who don't know, we had the Dice Tower cruise, and there was actually a full episode teaser of the Above Board show on the cruise ship. So
yeah. Thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Things take a long time. People don't realize how long it takes, not only to develop a show, but to then go through the process and getting it on the air. There are so many hoops that you have to jump through, and so many things that you have to do, so many steps. It's a journey. And believe me, nobody wants this show on more than I do. Trust me.
Gator Dave asks, Travis, how did you get into board gaming?
Oh my goodness. Well, I've always kind of been a board gamer. I'm trying to think. When I was a little kid, when I was about 7 years old, I got through board gaming, and I think a lot of people probably did this. I got through board gaming through Dungeons and Dragons. My dad got me my first Dungeons and Dragons book when I was about 7, and so I got into D&D and I got into fantasy, and as a result of that, I started getting into board games. My dad was actually really key in all that. He and I used to play old TSR games, and the games would become the baggies. I'm trying to remember we played the War. It wasn't War of the Ring. It was
I actually
from 1977. It was like Fellowship of the Ring. Was that it?
There was an old TSR War of the Ring game out there.
Yeah,
and
it wasn't. I don't think it was called War of the Ring.
There is one that is completely different than War of the Ring that's currently out, but it was much more of a war game. I actually played that growing up with my dad, and it has like all the hexes, and it's very much more like, oh, you go into these different areas and like try to find different like magic items from Lord of the Rings, and there's all sorts of army movement. And that game was crazy.
That's the first like real like board game I can think of playing. We also played Starship Troopers.
Nice.
On a similar like hex board and the little chits and stuff like that. So I've been into board games forever. It's funny that I have a production company. It's my production company that makes the show, and we generally make pilots for other people. So if you have a pilot and you want to make it, you come to us and we make the pilot for you. We develop it to whatever level you want us to. If sometimes people just have an idea and we do the writing, we do everything. And we did a show called Forecast, which was an esports show, and then it got sold and did very well for the people who we created the pilot for. And after that, we thought to ourselves, boy, I wish we had owned that IP, which IP stands for intellectual property. And so we decided, well, we're gonna the next project we're gonna do, we'll own the IP. So rather than making somebody else's pilot, we're gonna do our own. And so we just searched for ideas, and because we had such a passion, I had such a passion for board gaming, and it felt like it was that same kind of niche product with a very loyal and fervent base. We decided to go that route, and that's kind of how Above Board was born.
That's awesome. Several people are saying stuff about they're envious of your epic beard. I'm envious of your epic beard. Right now,
yes, it's not usually this big. It's not being trimmed during these interesting days.
Me and Tom have basically said the same thing. It's like, I'm not shaving until I get to go back to work. I mean, we haven't stopped working, but you know.
Yeah, and I haven't got a haircut since all this began either. So I'm becoming more and more fuzzy as time goes by.
Nice. Michael Hall asked, Travis, what are your top 3 games that kind of that can give us a taste of what you actually like? Sure.
My top game would be Gloomhaven. I probably play more Gloomhaven than anything else. After that, probably Mage Knight, which actually has a lot of similarities to Gloomhaven. It's kind of what drew me to Gloomhaven to begin with, was kind of certain similarities it has to Mage Knight. And then it would either be, and I'm talking, I much like Tom and you guys at the Dice Tower, I play so many games right now because of what we're doing, that kind of the way I decide my favorite games are the ones I go back to play. And so I would say Too Many Bones, maybe. I'd love to say Twilight Imperium 3/4, but I don't get to play that very often. I've loved that forever. So, but Too Many Bones, I go back and I play that quite a bit, even when I don't have to. So those would probably be my top 3 games right there. And we were talking about this a little bit. Magic the Gathering, if we're going to go to top 5, Magic the Gathering would probably be in there, since I spent so much of my life doing it at some point. I got kind of burned out, though.
Completely random person named Eric Summerer, I'm not quite sure who that is, never seen him before,
that is either.
Says, I missed the teaser on the cruise, and I still feel bad for letting Travis down.
Aww.
Eric's such a sweetheart.
I'll send it. You know what? I will send you. I gotta send it to you, Eric. I'll send it to you.
Hey, Eric, I mean, I have the file too now. Travis is like,
But
delete the files, Roy, delete the files.
If it goes out on the internet, you're dead meat somewhere. We did a really funny bit with Eric, by the way, for the show that we shot in PAX, where Eric was following me around and he was narrating me. So whatever my thoughts were, Eric would narrate them, and he was right next to me live with a microphone and driving my co-host insane with it. It was probably one of the funniest bits we've done on the show.
I'm going to revolt if there's not a part in there where he goes, Travis closes his eyes. No?
Oh, I see the reference. You're referencing One Night Ultimate Werewolf. Actually, it's funny you should mention that. We did a interview with the head of Fantasy Flight. No, not the head of Fantasy Flight. I'm sorry. The head of
Bezier, who makes the game?
Bezier. Thank you.
There you go.
the guy who created the game, I believe. I can't remember if it was the head of Bezier or the guy who created the game. Maybe the same person. I don't know. But we did an interview with him, and we're going to have Eric do a little fun thing with us for that. I have that on my list.
So
more
Travis,
work coming your way, Eric. Huh?
What was your favorite place you got to go for filming the show?
Probably Essen, because I'd never been to Germany. I had been all over Europe for other reasons. I've been to England before. I actually spent some time in England, a significant time in England. But I had never been to Germany before, and that was pretty neat. It was that whole Essen trip was a lot of fun. What was neat about that is it was at the very beginning of creating the show, and when we went to Gen Con, nobody knew who we were at all. So we had a hard time even having people believe that we were a television show when we went to Gen Con. But by the time we got to Essen, everybody knew who we were, and we had no problem getting designers and stuff to do fun things with us. So we got to do just a bunch of really wacky competitions and crazy things at Essen. That was a lot of fun. So probably Essen.
Nice. You mentioned in a different interview that you are getting tons of games sent to you for the show. You can't play them all, but are there some newer games that you have really enjoyed playing?
Oh, yeah, Tracy? Big time. Probably my favorite new game that I played was Aquatica. In fact,
who taught you that game?
That was you. You taught me, Roy. Yeah, I have been jonesing for that. I saw it was on Tabletopia because you can't get a copy of it here. So I saw it was on Tabletopia, although it's got some issues on Tabletopia. But I loved Aquatica. New games also. The Crew is fantastic for a little tiny game like that. The other game that I played that I really enjoyed was the new one from Reiner Knizia. It's not called Bloom. It's got moons on it. Oh gosh, what's the name of it?
What is it?
It's not. It's an unusual. It's not your typical Reiner Knizia game. Oh man, I don't remember the name of it, but it's got like a calendar style. I painted with Eric. Eric would know the name of it. If Eric Summer is still on
name.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm kind of behind in the question, so I'll have to scroll down at some point.
See if Eric Summer is still on there and would remember what it was, because he's the one I played it with.
Oh, gotcha. I'm sure he'll remind us in a moment.
Yeah, one thing everybody needs to know is I am terrible, and I mean terrible at names. Names of people and names of individual games, especially if they're brand new to me. Yeah. And especially these days when I've been inundated. I mean inundated with games. I've got
every time I see Travis, it's like, hey, Tom's editor, come over here. Tom's editor. No,
yeah. I don't know how Tom does it. Tom remember has an encyclopedic ability to just bring the stuff up out of his head. I'm not that bright. I don't think. I'm not
So
smart
you're saying
enough.
above board is extremely scripted.
Huh?
You're saying above board is extremely scripted.
Above board is fully scripted. Yes, but that doesn't mean that I. I have the knowledge. I just don't remember the names.
Dude, it's crazy. Like, I've had clips, like, for pieces of reviews where Tom has messed up. And I'll be like, hey, we need, like, this to be fixed or whatever. And he'll give it back to me. And he'll say everything almost the same way with no script at all. Like, he's like, I know what I want to say. I know what I'm going to say. I'm like, that is insane. How do you do this?
I had somebody ask me, I think it was on a cruise, what my favorite race to play in Twilight Imperium was.
Uh-huh.
Now, I've played Twilight Imperium for 10 years. At least twice a year, probably. I could not, if you put a gun to my head, I couldn't tell you the name of any of those races. What do they do, though? Huh?
What do they do? What does your favorite one do?
Well, that's what it ended up being, me trying to figure it out. I like the expansion that added diplomacy in Twilight Imperium 3, that added the whole council. Mm-hmm. And there was a race, and I think it was like a turtle race or something like that.
The extra.
All right.
Turtle guys?
Sure.
I've played quite a bit of Twilight Imperium, and I can't pronounce all the names, but I know them.
Yeah. I could probably name some of the Too Many Bones characters, because I played
those
so
are
many
pretty
of those.
wacky. If you had to rescue only the board games you could carry out due to a fire in your house, what games would they be and why?
Wow. What games would they be and why?
I would say, I feel like in a fire, board games would be the last of my worries.
First of all, I know. As my wife and my child are going, what the heck? How come you're taking board games? I'll just strap some of them to the back of my dog, and she can drag them out. The problem is, I want to say Gloomhaven, because we're halfway through that campaign, and I don't want to lose that. But if I take Gloomhaven, it's got the broken token insert in it, and I don't know if I could take a whole lot more than that.
That would be real heavy. Yeah,
it's pretty heavy. God, what else would I take if I had to? And that's just the thing. Too Many Bones ain't going at all, because that thing weighs a ton. I could never get all the expansions and everything for Too Many Bones. I would probably grab Gloomhaven because we're in the middle of that campaign, and probably I have a original copy of what's the name of it? Magic Realms.
Oh yeah,
Is that what it's called? Untouched, like unpunched out, with like even the original card that you were supposed to send back to the company.
Oh, nice.
Like pristine, because I loved that game when I was like in my teens. And so I would probably pick that one up too, just because it's like one of my prized possessions in the board game realm. Actually, what I should have taken is I have black bordered cards of all Magic the Gathering from the very first set, about 10 sets in, because that's like I could buy a new house with those. So
do you have the Power 9?
Probably have taken those, huh?
Do you have the Power 9 or?
I have every single expansion, I think, up through. I mean, the original 300, the original black bordered, so all the way through past Ice Age, maybe through Homelands. I don't remember. About 10 expansions worth. They're in
That's
3 large
crazy.
books. Yeah, and I had the last time I had them appraised. It's over $100,000 worth of cards.
I actually watched a Antiques Roadshow like clip that's been going around in the Magic community recently, where like this lady, I guess her husband passed away, and she had this collection of Magic cards, just a binder, and she went to Antiques Roadshow to get it appraised, and she shows it to this guy, and he opened it up to like a page where he just had the Power 9 there or whatever, and the guy starts trying to explain to her what Magic the Gathering is, and like
Sure.
why these cards are important, and how these are the most expensive cards in the game, and how they're called all this stuff. And the lady looked like she almost just didn't believe him. Like, it was insane. And this dude was just like super geeking out about the fact, he's like, I was very careful when I opened these. Like, literally, you could buy a house with this. Like, it's insane.
Oh yeah, yeah. All the Moxes, all the. I got the Black Lotus, everything. So
Now
most
everybody's
of them,
telling me to give up on my beard. Thanks. They don't have faith in me. They don't have faith in my. I don't have faith in my facial hair either. So.
most of those cards actually are signed by the artist.
Oh snap!
Yeah.
Now they're making fun of Eric because I had mentioned him. Let's go a little further down.
Has Eric figured out what the name of that?
I think that's still a little bit further down. So Elena says, "When's the show getting released?" Question mark. I'm sure you want to answer this question.
That's a good question. As soon as it possibly can be. Believe me.
Let's see. King Fat 44 says, interesting name. Do you want to see a Winnie the Pooh board game soon?
A Winnie the Pooh board game. That'd be neat. I don't think I mean, I'm sure there is a. I'm trying to think. I'm sure there's a Winnie the Pooh board game.
I'm sure there's mass market ones out there, right?
Yeah, I'm sure that Disney, and I'm sure Winnie the Pooh is out there in some kind of like a, I found it or something like that. I'm sure Winnie the Pooh exists out there in some fashion, but like a new Winnie the Pooh board game, that'd be neat.
We need an epic Winnie the Pooh storytelling game with voice work and an app.
Yeah. The problem with Winnie the Pooh is it's so sweet and there's something kind of timeless and gentle about it. Mm-hmm. I think that's its appeal. That it doesn't lend itself to interesting gameplay, I guess would be the way that I would put it, because most gameplay comes through conflict of some kind, and there's not a whole lot of conflict in the 100 Acre Wood. Maybe if you were trying to, catch the Baxen or some heffalumps, or, I suppose there's something there. You could figure out something there and create some kind of conflict. Most of the conflict on those shows is created by the characters themselves, taking some misunderstanding to the farthest extent that you can take it.
I feel like you could totally do like a cool like kids cooperative game.
Sure.
With like having different problems to solve, like whether it's rain filling up the entire 100 Acre Woods or Huffalumps and Woozles coming out and scaring everybody. I feel like there'd be lots of interesting things you could do there.
You might be like yeah. I mean, there might be Stuffed Fables. I was going to say is a little bit too. It's because Stuffed Fables can get a little scary, but
oh, yeah.
I mean, there's something there. I mean, Stuffed Fables kind of reminds me of that, because I mean that's all Winnie the Pooh really is. I mean, it is his toys coming to life. So it'd be kind of interesting if like you played a toy, like a new toy, and we're kind of alongside the other characters rather than playing the characters themselves. But
I think it's funny because after I actually met you in person and like learned you did the voice of Piglet and stuff like that, each time we'd go to Disney and ride the Winnie the Pooh ride, I was like, that's my friend Travis's voice doing Piglet right there.
Yeah, my favorite actually thing that I voiced that's in the Disneylands and Disney Worlds and everything is there's Piglet's house. And so if you knock on the door, I recorded like hundreds of responses of me saying things like, I'm not home right now, come back later. Or, oh, just a moment, I'm in the shower. And I fall over or something like that. Or, I'm too scared, come back later. And all this kind of things. But I recorded all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And so that was really neat to see that in person and knock on the door and hear that. That was great.
And you've had to do like a bunch, or you've gotten to do a whole bunch of the like video games for like all these Disney games, stuff like that.
Yes.
Did you do like Kingdom Hearts and stuff like that too?
Oh yeah, I did the Kingdom Hearts, all the Kingdom Hearts ones. I was just remarking that I bought one for my son. Disneyland Adventures was on sale on Steam, I think about 3 or 4 days ago. And so I got to see that for the first time, and that's where you get to walk around a virtual Disneyland. And I voiced a few characters for that. I'm actually there's a man named John Fiedler who was the original voice of Piglet, but I am the official John Fiedler in some ways for Disney because he voiced a bunch of different characters. So any of the characters he voiced, I voice his characters.
Corey says that I can grow a beard out. It just takes dedication to apathy. Thanks, Corey.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for your faith in me. You're the best. Oh man, so crazy. Let's see. Crystal's in chat, being like, "Hey, Roy, Travis, I'm also
Hey,
here."
Crystal. By the way, I love Crystal. She comes from the 100-acre wood. I follow her on. If you don't follow Crystal on Twitter, everybody go follow Crystal on Twitter because she never says anything mean or nasty, and all of her tweets are just sweet and lovable, and they always make my day a little brighter.
David says that I think a Winnie the Pooh RPG would be great. You have to use honeypots to destroy the Huffalumps.
Yeah, exactly.
And Corey says, we need a Winnie the Pooh Arcadia quest. That would be a lot of combat. Holy smokes.
I was going to say, yeah.
How much combat do you think is in the 100-acre woods? It's going to be like Fern Gully up in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man.
Disney's real particular when it comes to 100-acre wood, too. I mean, they used to be really protective. Mm-hmm. So much so that the first Kingdom Hearts, they wouldn't allow the voice artists that did the Winnie the Pooh voices to walk the carpets because we only existed in the 100-acre wood. Because MTV had this whole thing where they wouldn't let us walk the carpet. We could go to the premiere, but we couldn't walk the carpet because we didn't exist as far as Disney was concerned. They have since relaxed that. But it's funny, like for a while there, they really didn't want 100-acre wood was like this pristine place that existed out of time and space. Mm-hmm. And although they just did recently, we did a crossover with Doc McStuffins.
So that's awesome.
When the Pooh characters came into the Doc McStuffins world, and she repaired Eeyore or Pooh. I don't remember now.
We got chat stuck on just trying to cross over, like they're like saying like Pooh Haven and 100-acre route, and like the entire chat.
Route. I like that.
The entire chat has just devolved into no longer asking us questions. Winnie the Pooh side, which would be terrible. Winnie the Pooh versus zombies? No thanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're waiting on more questions. So as far as above board goes, is there do you have there's a whole bunch of different segments in the show. Do you have like a segment that's your favorite?
I have a segment that became my favorite. We had a segment that when we wrote them up, we thought was just going to be a throwaway that was called Quick Picks, where it's just 5 games that have a similar comedic through line. Like it was 5 games for cat lovers, or 5 games that are hard to pronounce, 5 games that are yelling at you, 5 games that make you wish you had an art degree. And I thought, well, those are going to be quick little 2-minute throwaways that we can sprinkle in throughout the show. And they turned into being the funniest segments, I think, on the show. I don't know what it is about them doing these comedic lists, but they are continually I think the comedic highlight of the show are these quick picks.
My favorite part is at the very end, when you're saying what the games are for or whatever, and you have different icons at the bottom of the screen. It's just
after
hilarious.
The above the board sequence, and we do the little where we say, it's for 1 to 4 people, and then we go into crazy land with them.
Yes, extremely insane.
Yeah,
so I love the whole. I love the whole above the board thing, the whole close up shots and all that stuff is amazing.
The two that you have seen don't even have the funny. There's some extremely funny little, because basically as we say, they're from 1 to 4 people, and a little blip comes up on the side there of that typical icon of 4 people, how much time it takes, and so forth. And then we go to stranger places, like when we did Heroes of Air, Land, and Sea. It was when Land and Sea is just not enough, and we had a little icon for it. But man, wait until you see some of them some of those are just hilarious. The little badges or blips that we make up for them.
How many writers do you have on the show? Do you have a lot of people coming up with like the jokes and the content and stuff? We have a writer's room with about, I think if you don't count me, I think about 10 people, I think. Gotcha. We have 3 women and 6 men. So actually, counting me, it would be 10. Originally, we had 5 women, but we had 2 women and 1 man drop out along the way. Not from our from my side, but they got work that took them to grander places, basically. I'm sure that happens a lot out there in LA. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's especially on a show where that you're just seeking opportunities. Yeah. But most of the people who are on the show as correspondents also write for the show. That's awesome. In some form or another. So Elena asks, what game would you most like to play with each other? I think it's kind of interesting. Me and Travis have pretty similar taste in games overall. Yeah. Roy and I like a lot of the same games. We have yet to play Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea. I know, that would be pretty awesome. I'd be curious to see who would win. Because I usually win with my group, and you usually win with your group. I don't know. I win sometimes when people are being nice. But there's a lot of smart people out there. That game is very much determined on how well you can, not control the other players. That's a mean way to say it. But the way you can, talk yourself out of situations and talk people into attacking somebody or not attacking somebody. I love games where the player interaction is extremely high. And it just depends on the way the masses go, right? Yeah, one of the reasons why I like Twilight Imperium so much is there is a lot of social strategy of are you sure you want to attack me? Because if you do that, you know that player right there, he's just waiting for that to happen. But if the two of us combine forces, so I love those games where I can kind of weasel my way out of combat by convincing them that it's a much better idea to attack the other person. For sure. I really enjoy that. Here's the weird thing when it comes to games with me. I like more games than I don't like. When I started the whole above board process, I thought that there were certain kind of games I didn't like. Like if you'd asked me a year and a half ago, I would have said, I don't like Euro games. And then I found that actually I do like Euro games. I actually like quite a few Euro games. I just hadn't played the right ones. And the more that I was exposed to different games, the more I enjoyed them. I'm not I don't play to win all the time. I just play to enjoy myself. Mm-hmm. So I enjoy the act of playing most games. Now, that's not to say that there aren't games that I dislike. There are definitely games that I dislike. But a lot of the time, I enjoy the people I'm playing with more than the game, if that makes any sense. I would say I would love to play a game of Dune with Travis, just because I think the interaction and stuff and backstabbing would be interesting in that game as well. Or something like Game of Thrones. That'd be fun. I would enjoy that. That'd be fun. Nice. I haven't played in a long time. Eric says, tell Travis he played Nova Luna. Nova Luna. What did I say? I said Blue Moon or something. So I was, I think that was an older one of his. Nova Luna. No, it's a brand new one. Oh, right. That's what I meant. I think Blue Moon was older, right? Yeah, Blue Moon was older. And it was really good. I enjoyed myself. Eric won. Joseph says there needs to be an Eeyore version of Fast Sloths. What's that game that's got the little it's a children's game that's got what do they call
They're not like possums.
Oh,
You know
the
what I'm
like,
talking about?
and how do you say the name of them? They're kind of like porcupines, like and it starts with an E.
Yeah, games with
And
a yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
I
So,
almost want to say enchilada, but I know it's not enchilada.
I
It's
was
like
about to say, they sounds like enchilada, but
somebody in
we
chat's
are
going to be real
definitely on
mad
the
at
same
us.
page. But I'd love to see like a Winnie the Pooh
Echidna.
version of that.
Echidna shuffle.
Echidna shuffle, yes. That
I
Winnie
said
the
it
Pooh
before
version
chat
of that
started.
with their Eeyores would be very adorable.
That would be awesome. So have either of us done any games over video chat yet, or before, or have you played games over video chat?
I haven't played over video chat. Mark Street and Corey, who does the news there,
Mm-hmm.
and I have been trying to get time to set up and try and play something over Tabletopia. The problem with
nice.
Tabletopia right now is it's overloaded. So the last time I tried it crashed before we were able to finish a game. But we haven't tried anything over video chat. The problem is where my video is set up is the same place where I have my recording set up, so I can record from home as a video guy. And it's in my office. And my wife, who also works from home, is behind me. That's her desk behind me with a Lego on top of it. And my son, for his schoolwork, his is right over there. So all three of us are in the same room. So trying to like set up the cameras and everything to actually play a game on my desk would be tough. I would have to like figure out how, like with an iPad or something, set something up somewhere else in the house.
I've played stuff like Marvel Champions. I played that with Marty Cannell here on the channel from Rolling Dice Taking Names. We played that when it first came out. I actually haven't played anything since all this craziness has been going on, because I've been working a lot. So
yeah,
work has not stopped at the Dice Tower much. It's all remote, and I'm hanging out editing in a closet for most of the day. But it's been fun, and I'm doing these live chats. So hey,
it's tough because I kind of wish like I had, because like I said, we're getting in tons of games right now, but I don't have the staff to play them. Right. And I need my writers to be able to like play the games, or have writers to play the games with. I can play some of them with my wife and my assistant, but it's not quite the same. So I've gotten in some things lately that I'm really jazzed to play.
Travis, were you ever on Attack of the Show?
No, I was not on Attack of the Show. Attack of the Show existed after Arena. That was after Arena had come and gone. Attack of the Show actually was pretty late in the G4 life cycle. I was on the launch team for G4, and I created a few shows. I was actually head writer of G4 when it launched, and I apologize greatly for that. G4 was a horrible experience. It was one of these situations where you had a bunch of video game guys and a bunch of television guys, and both of them thought they knew each other's business better than the others did, and they kind of hated each other. And I was hired because I had written for both the video game world. I had worked for Atari, and I worked on the Unreal games and Alone in the Dark, and I worked for done some video game writing, and I also worked for network television. So when I was brought in there, I was kind of supposed to be the middle point to help the two sides talk to one another, and it was absolutely the most miserable job I've ever had in my life in the entertainment industry. I would have to go outside of the entertainment industry to find a job that was worse than that. It was really terrible. And
Wow.
And unfortunately, I think a lot of what hit the air was pretty bad as a result of that. I think they were before their time. I think if you tried to do something like that now, it would look very different, and it would have a lot more money attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the understanding of what makes video games entertaining.
Yeah.
Listen, when I created the show Arena, the trying to convince people that people would watch people play a video game.
And it's crazy. There's people that there's tons of people that just play video games for a living now.
But at the time, I had to fight to tell people will want to watch people play video games if they are good at it, and you have people calling it like it's a sport. Arena was the first time ever where people were calling video games as if it was a sport.
That's actually really important, I think. That's pretty insane.
Yeah. I'm technically the grandfather of esports, but not that buys me anything. But yeah. And not that other people weren't kind of doing the same thing at the same time, but we beat everybody to it by a few months. So I'm not saying that I was this is more kind of like the Vice President Gore saying that he invented the internet. That's where it's this kind of, I fall into that category. I invented esports the way Gore invented the internet. In that there is some truth to that, but there's a lot of people doing a lot of other things at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Corey Thompson's last question here. Now that you've put together a bunch of episodes, what new games would you love to see featured in a new episode?
That is, we are in the process of actually determining that right now. One of the reasons why I'm getting so many games in the mail is because we are putting together the blueprint for the next 6 episodes. We have been given the mandate to do that. So that is we haven't made any decisions yet on that. The only 2 things that I can tell you about the next 6 episodes for sure is that we are doing an episode on dice culture, and we're doing some really, really cool things for that episode.
That's awesome.
And the
are
other
you
thing
looking into people custom making dice with resin or anything like that?
We're going to be doing some. Look, I can tell you what's on the board. Well, can I? Oh, maybe I'm going to get in trouble for doing this.
Anyway, besides that, I've actually started dabbling in creating dice out of resin myself. So I've been finding it interesting. I really need a pressure pot to make them better, but I've been having fun making dice, and I'm like, oh man, it'd be really cool to make custom, get a game that has custom dice,
right,
but then make them in a cool different color. I could take Mages of Madness dice and make them crazy colors, or take the evil die out of Dead of Winter and make it look even more evil, that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, you can always tell somebody who's part of dice culture in that if you offer them more dice, no matter how much dice they already have, how many dice they already have, if they say, "Oh yes, I would love more dice," they're part of dice culture. Because I have over 100 sets of dice at this point, at least, personally that I own, not even the company. Personally, I own, and yet I still buy dice. I still purchase dice when I oh my god, look at that cool dice set, and I buy them. It's a sickness. It's a weird impulse that you just must have more dice.
I definitely have a dice bag with just all sorts of just random dice. I have dice from publishers with their little imprint on it. I have dice from other media people. Lots of media people have dice that they get made from ChessX. They have their logos and stuff on it. They have tons of those.
I can tell you this without getting in trouble. I'll tell you some of the ideas on the board for dice culture. Some of the bits that we're thinking of doing for it, because I don't know which ones are going to make the cut. But one of them is taking a bath in dice. is getting enough dice and taking a bath in dice. One of them was going to finding out what the oldest die in existence is, going there and doing a bid on it and seeing if they'll let us roll it. One was to build the largest die ever and roll it, and we're actually looking into we're looking into pricing out what that would be. We're talking about maybe using the Rose Bowl as a giant die, a giant dice tower of sorts. But yeah, there's some of the stuff on dice culture, and probably the only game that I can tell you now, if it's ready in time for us to film it, that will probably feature in the next 6 will probably be Frosthaven. That's probably not a shock to anybody out there.
You know, Travis, I heard you said you were like halfway through the campaign. I heard you are not allowed to back Frosthaven unless you've completely finished Gloomhaven.
You know, I don't know how many hours I've played Gloomhaven, and I don't even know if I'm halfway through. I personally own 3 copies of Gloomhaven.
What? What is the reasoning behind such things?
Yeah. And that's me, not the company. Like we have other copies of Gloomhaven that Above Board has. Well, here's the thing. So I got 1 copy of Gloomhaven when it first came out, but I wanted another copy of Gloomhaven. When I got that 1 copy, I was freaking out that I wasn't going to get a copy because I didn't Kickstart it originally.
Yeah.
So I put in orders with 5 different companies. And when I finally got one, I thought I had told all the other companies that I didn't need them anymore, and so I had my Gloomhaven. But then when he Kickstarted it the next time, I'm like, well, I want the updated version as well. And what I figured I would do is I would set that aside, and I would play someday with my son. My son is 6 years old right now, about to turn 7. When he was old enough to play Gloomhaven, we would go through Gloomhaven together, and I wanted a pristine copy for that, so I was going to get another copy. And so then when I got my copy from that Kickstarter, I also got in the mail another copy of Gloomhaven. I did not know it, but one of those 5 companies had not canceled my order, and so it had held on to that order the entire time. And so I got one that I had Kickstarted directly from Isaac, and then I got another from some random company.
Now you have one that you can play with the grandkids, right?
Yeah, exactly. I have 3 now. I have 3.
So It only makes sense that you're getting 3 copies of Frosthaven as well to go with your 3 copies of Gloomhaven.
Right. I did Kickstart Frosthaven for myself, and then the company's going to get. What's really funny is I Kickstart, and most people probably don't believe me, but I mean I Kickstart games that I know for a fact are going to be given to us as a company. But I try to keep my collection and Above Board's collection separate. But I also, at this point, I mostly Kickstart games because, like I said, I think we'll probably have about 2,000 games to choose from for the next 6. Literally, I'm not being facetious, 2,000 games. But I Kickstart mostly now to support, kind of for the reason that Kickstarter exists.
Yeah.
I especially smaller companies, I Kickstart those games because as kind of like my way of giving back to what they're creating, what they're doing. I like to be able to support those companies in creating all those games. As I Kickstarted the Dice Tower.
Hype.
Yes.
People are blaming the fact that our stream crashed on the Huffalumps.
Yeah.
Huffalumps and Woozles.
Yeah. Huffalumps and Woozles, man. I'll get you every time. Oh, I did it here.
Let's see. People are like, "Oh, we found you. Oh, you're back." Yeah. Elena says, 3 copies. Are you Jason?
No, I'm not Jason. Although in a weird way, I do respect and envy Jason's collection.
It's crazy. We were telling him, like, man, if you can't organize your collection now, you're never going to get it organized.
I know.
Oh, man. Muhammad says, I have Gloomhaven sleeved with a custom insert, and I still haven't played it since I bought it 5 months ago.
Oh, wow.
Tell Muhammad how he should play Gloomhaven.
The first thing I would do is I would go out and get one of the inserts for it. I wouldn't play Gloomhaven without an insert.
He has a custom insert.
Oh, he does have a custom insert?
He said he has
I
it
thought you said he
sleeved
saved it.
and a custom insert.
Which custom insert did you get?
We'll have to wait. There's a decent amount of delay on
right,
it, but
right.
he hasn't said yet.
Because we got in like 3 different custom inserts for Gloomhaven, because we did a whole thing on inserts on the show, and Gloomhaven was one of the ones where we showed a variety of different ones. How should he play Gloomhaven? I just start playing it. You can play it. Heck, you can play it solo if you have to. Although I don't understand, and I know a lot of people enjoy solo gaming. I don't understand solo gaming. I just don't. For me, I'll tell you why I can't solo game. Mm-hmm. One time, I tried solo gaming the expansion, the newest expansion, or the newest expansion hasn't come out yet, but the most recent expansion of Too Many Bones, because I couldn't get anybody to play with me, and so I decided I cheat like crazy if it's just me, because I'll be like, well, I failed that battle, or did I? I mean, there's nothing keeping me honest at all, and I'm like, well, I could either like put all this away and end early, or I could just say that never happened and continue playing the game, and it really takes something away from the game, because there's just nothing on the keeping line. Me honest. I don't get solo game. I don't understand solo gaming.
I have played some solo games of like Arkham Horror, the card game, where like I'll scoop and like start a scenario over, just because it's like I draw my hand. I'm like, this hand's okay. I'll mulligan and be like, okay, we're doing okay. And then like 3 monsters come out, and I'm like, well, forget this. Or like I keep drawing the bad token from the bag that automatically makes you lose, and I'm like, I'm starting this over. This did not happen. I'm starting this over. So
see, pretty much all the solo gaming I do over on a computer or an iPad. You know, if I solo game, I generally play one of the board games that I really like that's out there on iOS.
Mohammed says he has the broken token insert.
That's a good one. That's the one I think that's got the little decks that I really like, that you can, or little card. It's not decks, but it's like a deck. It looks like a little deck of cards, but that's what you hold the monster figurines in. The monster. Well, I don't know what you call them, because they're not figurines. They're
standees.
Standees. Yeah.
Eric says
but that's what I'm asking. Is that the name? Because a standee is technically what you slip this into. You slip the monster into a standee. So what do you call? So what do you call the figurine itself? Huh?
I call it a standee. Like if it's the cardboard thing. Yeah.
I don't know if that's the correct term though.
I'm pretty sure it is.
This is why I have a staff of writers. Find that out for me. Somebody go find that out for me, staff of writers.
Deep internet searching on like, what do you call the cardboard that you put into the thing? Eric says, any thoughts on Starlight currently on Kickstarter? Have you seen that?
I have. It doesn't. It didn't grab me, Starlight.
I thought it looked really cool.
I thought it looked okay. It's not one of the ones that I flagged for me personally. It may just be. It's hard to say like what grabs me and what doesn't. I'm trying to think of let's see if I can pull up my most recent things that I've gotten.
For me on it, I thought it looked really cool. I think, I don't know what games the company's done before or anything like that, but I'm really hoping it comes into the Dice Tower so we at least get a chance to look at it, because that'll be really exciting. I know Tom was like, maybe this has like Story 7th Continent but in space sort of vibes. That would be really cool.
You know what it was for me is the board looks so boring to me.
Oh, yeah.
Although I am a sucker for the dual layer player boards, but I don't know. It just has a look about it that doesn't turn my crank, I guess. It doesn't look super exciting to me. But I mean, you know, here's the thing. I kickstart so many games, right? In fact, we had the guy from Brotherhood Games on the show because one of their games that they kickstarted ended up being one of my favorite games. I didn't kickstart that game though, because I don't know, it just didn't look exciting to me. Then I played it with a friend, and it became one of my favorite games. And this is the problem with Kickstarter, is it seems like no matter how many games I kickstart, I still miss a couple of gems, and maybe that's a gem. But for me, the board just looks so uninteresting to me. But who knows? It's tough. It's tough with these space games too, because I've been burned by a lot of them lately. It feels like the last 3 or 4 ones that I've gotten haven't been that great.
I was about to say, you better say gotten, not played. No, I'm just kidding.
No, actually, yeah. Although I did receive. In fact, we talked about it, didn't at Dice Tower West. I received. What's the big one that people always say is like Twilight Imperium, but shorter?
Which one? Eclipse?
Eclipse.
Yeah.
I did get the Eclipse Deluxe Edition in, and I did play that, and I enjoyed that a lot.
Man,
that was
I
the
still
first
really
time.
want to play Deluxe Eclipse.
I really liked it. I don't know what it looked like before, but it looked amazing, and I know it took them a while to get it to us, but I thought it was gorgeous, and I really enjoyed it. And I all in too, and I had the custom mat and everything, and I really had a lot of fun with it.
So Elena asks, is Gloomhaven similar to D&D? I must say, it in some ways, yes. In a lot of ways, also no.
Yeah, I mean,
it's definitely like got the whole fantasy romping around, doing quests and missions thing. It's very dungeon crawly, but it also is like very like hand management, like very like
right.
tactical. Like
here's what I'll say: if you play Dungeons and Dragons, I think you will enjoy Gloomhaven more than you would if you didn't. And the reason being is Gloomhaven is outside the box of those Dungeons and Dragons archetypes. Like, you're used to, and I think not all, but a lot of fantasy games, they follow that pattern that was set up by Dungeons and Dragons that in turn got it from Lord of the Rings, that is like the fighter, the thief, the mage, the cleric, kind of that archetype. And what I loved so much about Gloomhaven is that it went outside of those archetypes and those race. You didn't have dwarves and elves, and it had a completely different world and a completely different set of characters that were very different than your typical fantasy. Now, on top of that, there is an amazing, one of the most brilliant strategy combat systems that I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's very tense too.
Very elegant, and it literally, it's got a timer to it that's built into your hand of cards, and it's all about, like, you can tell people who don't understand the system very well because they complain about, I run out of cards so fast and everything. It's like, well, you got to take that into account. You can't just burn those cards out. But it's a very elegant, fascinating card system, and it can be really difficult. In fact, one of the biggest things that I hope I know they've changed it with Jaws of the Lion, which I believe is their mass market Gloomhaven that they're making right now. That should be out any month now. Should be out very soon. Is the biggest problem was the first couple combat scenarios that it puts you in Gloomhaven. They're really hard, like really hard if you play them just on normal and you're just starting out. You don't know what you're doing yet. I don't know very many people who knew nothing about Gloomhaven and won that first scenario. I know we didn't. And and it does share some similarity to Mage Knight in that Mage Knight again is a very elegant combat system that's card driven, that doesn't rely on luck very much. There's even less luck in Gloomhaven than there is in Mage Knight.
I would say the main difference is that like D&D is just very much role playing and telling a story however you want.
D&D is generally theater of the mind.
Right.
Even when you're playing with miniatures on the table, it's very much a story collectively told by a narrator who is the dungeon master, and the characters also have a huge part in telling that story. Whereas it's not the same. I mean, it's hard to have a Dungeons and Dragons experience with a board game, because no matter what kind of a narrative you try to set up, what is fantastic about Dungeons and Dragons is that you are truly collectively telling a story. Right. That your players may take you to a place that you didn't anticipate the game going, and you may, as a dungeon master, and I've done it many times, have this entire scenario worked out, know where they're going to go, and then everybody goes, we're not going to do that. We're going to go, we're going to head west instead, and we're just going to, because that's what we're doing this week.
Right.
And then you just have to go with it.
As a DM, like when I DM games, like I started like you can have those on the rails games where you're trying to make them go on a certain path, but it's even more rewarding for the players and for everybody as a storytelling if you just try to like build a world and like have things going on in the world and then seeing how your players interact with it. And that's something that a board game can't really do, because you can't plan for every possible scenario the way a human mind can just come up with like, oh yeah, there's an alchemy lab over there, and there's some old crazy wizardy guy in there doing some crazy magic stuff, and he gives you this thing, and you go over there, and there's guys doing some shady business and stuff, and they give you the stink eye, and you end up fighting them or something crazy like that. I mean, there can't be
I think that,
made up stuff the same way in a board game.
And the reason for that is it's a rules thing.
Right.
The problem is Dungeons and Dragons
is extremely loose on rules.
3 rule books, that are this thick. One for the DM, one for the player, and one just about monsters. And those are just the core books. And so you couldn't have a board game that duplicates that kind of an experience. You'd have to have a set of rules that is equally as large. And I think board games, by their very nature, are a more singular and focused experience. They're designed to be in bite-sized chunks and have rules that are similar. They may change in certain scenarios, but they're similar enough that every scenario has a set of parameters that are similar to one another. Even a sandbox game has that, and so it's hard to say. Gloomhaven, it certainly may scratch that Dungeons and Dragons itch for certain groups that are mostly about playing like miniature combat, So, but the social aspect of Dungeons and Dragons doesn't really exist in Gloomhaven.
So I want to do a quick round before we end this of this or that. So for me and Travis, like go and ask us give us 2 things, and me and Travis have to pick in between those 2 things. And we'll try to fire off a few of those real quick. But before that, Dan, who I'm sure has done tons of research scouring the internet, says, standees get placed in stands.
There you go. You're hired, Dan. If you're in the Los Angeles area, give me a call.
Eric says that I'm vibrating. I'm not quite sure. Maybe it was when I was talking about D&D. I get pretty passionate sometimes, But yeah, it's normally like a 30-second delay on these things, so it takes a little bit while for people to get in there. One question is, what is our thoughts on War of the Ring? Have you played that yet?
The most recent iteration of War of the Ring.
Yeah, the actual like War of the Ring or War of the Ring Second Edition, the actual board game.
Fantasy. Is it the Fantasy Flight one?
Fantasy Flight had it, but then now, what's the name of that company? Now there's a different company that does it. The same people that do like Wings of Glory and stuff like that. But yeah, it's the one where you have like dice for your actions, and it's a very card driven game.
I have only watched that being played. Mm-hmm. I have never played that myself. I've watched people play it online, but I don't own that particular game.
I'm pretty sure it's like my number 3 game of all time. So
is it?
I enjoy it. Yeah. I love it. It's my favorite 2-player game. It is huge and epic and takes like 4 hours, but I love the experience.
I don't mind that. I know Zeke Garcia doesn't like any game to take over 15 minutes.
Hey,
and
that's
have
a
more
stereotype,
than 20 cards.
Sir. No, I'm just kidding.
but I enjoy a lengthy experience. Mm-hmm. I don't mind a game that takes 4 to 6 hours to play. I just
Travis
have to plan.
Says Ares Games made the game, so yes, that is correct. Yeah, I love
Ares Games.
I love War of the Ring, but yeah, definitely. It gives you like this huge Lord of the Rings flavor, but then can like make you diverge the story in different ways that don't actually happen in the books, which is fun. I mean, I know Thomas said it and plenty of people said it in the past, but it's like Lord of the Rings in a box, basically.
And that would be why I don't have it, because Ares Games has not sent us any games yet. I've asked them twice.
All right. This or that, Arcadia Quest or Starcadia Quest? Starcadia Quest. And I'm actually going to be editing a video from Tom on this very subject, so stay tuned to the Dice Tower.
I'm gonna say Arcadia Quest. I haven't played enough Starcadia Quest to know. I'm trying not to be
Cult of the New.
Cult of the New, because I still think I probably enjoy Arcadia Quest more than Starcadia Quest. I enjoy fantasy more than science fiction generally.
Crystal asks, sleeping in a dark room or in a room with a light on?
Dark room.
No lights at all. Completely dark. Okay, let's see what's next. Sorry, sliders or strike? What kind of question is this, Dan? Dan! I take back what Travis said before.
Strike.
Strike, obviously. Strike's amazing.
I guess strike.
You haven't played Strike?
I said strike.
You didn't say it with enough determination in your voice.
Because I don't know what Sorry Sliders is. That was what you were hearing me. Gotcha.
So, this is weird. Dominion or Pokemon? What? What kind of question is that? Pokemon, actually, obviously. No, I'm just kidding.
I was going to say Pokemon. I'm not a big fan of Dominion.
I like it, but I like things that other deck building games do better. But I still enjoy Dominion.
I had this conversation with Tom. I don't understand why he loves Dominion so much, because it's kind of like eating flavored ice cream. There's just so many flavors out there now. It's so generic and so simplified.
Circus or roller coasters?
Circus. Except for clowns. I hate clowns. They're scary.
I like roller coasters. What is this? Hamburglar or Grimace?
Oh, you gotta go Grimace.
I agree, Grimace.
Yeah. Hamburglar, he creeps me out a little bit. He's got that clown quality that I was talking about. Grimace is just a big old muppet.
Suburbia or Castle of the Mad King Ludwig?
Castles of Mad King.
I haven't played Castles of Mad King Ludwig, so I'm going to go with that.
Really?
I played Suburbia, and it was fine.
I thought Suburbia was decent, but I like Castles of Mad King Ludwig better.
Let's see. Let's just do a few more. Submarine or rocket ship? Rocket ship, all day long. Space!
I don't know if I could fit on a submarine. I think I'd get stuck. I'm a big dude. I don't think I can fit into either one of them.
Candy corn or circus peanuts? Circus peanuts.
I'm not a fan of either. If I had to take one or the other, I guess I'd take candy corn over circus peanuts, probably. I wrote a pilot called Circus Peanuts.
Oh man, this is amazing. Bacon or piglet?
I do love myself some bacon, but piglet's literally what brings home the bacon. So I guess I'll choose piglet.
I'm going back up. Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi, all the way.
I go with the Pepsi too.
And you people, and you Coke people are just wrong.
Cake or pie?
Ooh.
I answered this last time. Pie. I'm not a big fan of icing,
but not fruit pie.
Huh?
Like what
about key lime pie?
Like cream pie.
Travis, you need to come down here and have some real key lime pie in the Keys.
When I in the airport, in Miami airport, I did have a piece of key lime pie. That was the closest I came. It was okay.
I think you'd have to ask Tom if that actually counts or not.
I don't know if that counts.
Oh, Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings? This isn't even close for me. I like Game of Thrones, but Lord of the Rings by a mile. Like, I grew up with Lord of the Rings. I read the books. I watched the cartoons. Like, I pretended to be Frodo running through the woods as a kid.
If Game of Thrones was only 5 seasons long, I would say Game of Thrones. If you include the last 2 seasons, I'm going with Lord of the Rings.
Awesome. Well, I guess we should wrap this thing up, seeing that we're over a little bit of time and we had some technical issues. But hey, if anybody wants to check out your stuff, Travis, or learn more about you, where can they kind of see that stuff?
Well, you can go to aboveboardtv.com. We're also on Twitter, I believe at Aboveboard TV. There's not a whole lot out there right now about Above Board because we're not making a push for it. But check us out. Like I said, we're on Facebook, Twitter. We have a website, and the closer we come. Plus, I'm sure the Dice Tower will do some kind of a big announcement to let everybody know.
We'll be shouting from the rooftops.
Exactly.
It'll be lots of fun.
And this was great. Call me back anytime. Time went by so fast.
Awesome. Well, we'll see everybody next time. I hope everybody's staying safe and staying positive and having a good time out there. Thanks so much again, Travis. We'll see everybody next time.
You're awesome, chat.
Bye. Bye-bye.